All right, everybody, welcome to another week of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. This is episode 23, and this is Dysfunctional Family Holiday Films. We're going to go just through some of our favorites. Hopefully, we give you guys some ideas for ones you haven't seen with Christmas coming up and New Year's coming up. All right, Wayne, let's throw it to you. What are you going to start with this week?
All right, I'm going with the 1990 classic Home Alone, where we visit with the McAllister family. So, no joke, when this movie came out in 1990, I was 8 years old, and we literally saw this in the theater at least 5 times. I just remember going with my aunt at least twice, my family at least once. Honestly, I probably saw it with my Aunt Beverly the other 3 or 4 times. It just resonated with us really well. The comedy, the slapstickness, the outrageousness of defending of a year-old boy defending his home against intruders. All right, so for those of you that are not familiar, which is hard for me to believe at this point, the Home Alone film is directed by Chris Columbus, written by John Hughes, stars Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern are the big three. You've also got John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara,
John Candy, who we talked about a couple of times in the last, in our podcast already.
Yeah. Jerry Bammon plays cheap-ass Uncle Frank, who never had that money and kind of a dick to everybody.
You got the Culkin siblings. Kieran is in it, and then their sister as well as one of the actresses. But Kieran Culkin plays the cousin.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Kevin, you are such a disease. I did not know that one of the Culkin sisters was in this film.
Yep.
All right, so the McAllister family going on a trip. This is the one where they're going to spend Paris with Mr. McAllister's brother, I believe. And,
yes.
All expenses take a trip to France. And everybody's staying at this massive McAllister mansion. And, Kevin is the youngest, I believe, of the McAllister main family. And then he's got some other cousins. The house is filled with children, guys. And, buddies bickering and fighting and running around. Now, Michael, I don't know about you, but whenever we're going out of state or out of the country on a trip, we're usually pretty prepared and pretty packed day of.
Yes, same here.
They have this power outage issue in the middle of the night, but they still don't seem like they have anything packed or anything ready to go for a transcontinental flight, which is like, all right, that's cool, whatever.
Poor planning.
So anyway, the film starts out with Kevin being a smart alecky little dude. He obviously sees that he doesn't get along with a lot of his siblings, being the baby. He's kind of a little brat at times. He's banished to the attic, and subsequently, with the power outage, everybody's scrambling around. He gets left behind. So, he's going through all the realizations. Before he's banished to the attic, remember he says, I wish I didn't have a family. I wish I could spend Christmas alone. And then the mother looks at him and goes, maybe you'll get your wish. Mm-hmm. In the most standoffish, not way to deal with a problem child, in my opinion. But hey, whatever. Also set up in the movie is the police officer. Well, is the Harry character played by Joe Pesci, posing as a police officer.
Yes.
Letting people know, hey, I hear you're going out of town. Got a lot of break-ins this time of year. Just basically scoping the joint out, right? And Mr. McAllister and all the adults just kind of like, yeah, whatever, that's cool. So, yeah, the place has been scoped out. They're ready. The wet bandits, Joe and Daniel Stern, are ready to hit this place. It's a gold mine for them. It's like they're coming back tonight. So, okay, I'm getting a little fuzzy on this one. I don't know how Kevin finds out. Oh, it's because he's hanging the ornaments on the tree, and he sees the robbers outside the window. He's like, hey, mm-hmm. So he knows somebody's looking at the house that shouldn't be.
Yes.
So he sets the Michael Jordan cutout. He basically stages a huge holiday party at the house The Michael Jordan cutout is on the train going around the living room. So the silhouette looks like somebody's walking around. Loud Christmas music, festiveness. So the wet bandits are deterred for the first time. But long story short, the epic battle and the magnificent use of micro machines to defend your home. Mm-hmm. The charcoal starter on the doorknob, the swinging paint cans, the attack tarantula. I don't know how you felt about that scene at the time, but not a big fan of our hairy eight-legged beasts. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this movie, as we talk about dysfunctional family holidays movies, this is like kind of your cream of the crop of that, because the whole like first 10 to 15 minutes is just total dysfunction. No one really knows what they're doing. The families are all trying to sit down and everyone's trying to get the kids in order, and Kevin wants cheese pizza, and Fuller's the one that eats all the pizza, and that's where it's all gone. That's where the whole fight starts. And then
the older brother. Fuller's the one that wets the bed.
Oh, that's right. Fuller's the one that wets the bed. Buzz eats all the pizza. That's right. And he punches Buzz. And then that causes a big mess and everything goes crazy. Devin Ratray plays Buzz. He's been in quite a few things of late as well. He's an actor. He keeps working. But this movie, I mean, just like you said, you saw it a bunch of times in the theaters. I'm not sure how many times I saw it in the theaters. I know I saw it at least once. But I've seen it several times since. I've shown, Donovan's seen it. I've shown it to him. We watch it. I probably watch it at least once a year, just to kind of, get that holiday cheer, from this movie. And the main thing I think that everybody comes to for this movie is to watch Harry and Marv get the crap kicked out of them by a 10-year-old. And some of those scenes are pretty cringy. Like I always, when he steps on the nail, like that, the falling down the stairs, the iron to the face, there's so many traps in this movie. It's almost like, you could almost say it's the kids' version of Saw. That's like, except with less blood.
The flamethrower to the head.
Like, these guys should be in the hospital by the time this movie's over. And yet they just end up getting arrested. Like, no one takes them to the hospital and stuff. It's a fun movie, a fun family movie. It's funny because it's probably one of the few, like, holiday movies that is, before Die Hard was definitely considered, like, the best Christmas movie or whatever you want to call it. This is probably the most violent one next to that, because of all the things that happened to Harry and Marv and them threatening to murder Kevin, which as a child is one of those things when you hear an adult threaten to murder a child, it's kind of like off-putting at a certain point.
Unless you're the child's parent and they're completely acting up.
Yes.
Then you're kind of hoping.
I mean, the other, outside of the main three, I think the other main star of this movie is Catherine O'Hara, who plays the mother, who's doing everything she can to get back to her son. And that includes, like, getting a plane back right away, getting in a van with John Goodman's character and his friends, the polka band, and her, just...
Out of Wisconsin. Woo!
Yeah. Just the what she goes through to kind of get back to him, I think, is really kind of harrowing as well. And it's just...
That is a thing that happens, because you really don't like her at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, compassion for your child. She's in France trying to speak French to the operators. And excuse me, it wasn't Sheboygan, they're the Kenosha Kickers.
Kenosha Kickers, yeah.
And sorry, excuse me. Gotta make the corrections when we're dealing with...
So it overall, like I said, probably one of the, greatest kids holiday movies from our generation, Wayne, and I think it's definitely a good one to start with. I
wanted to add, somebody did a YouTube video that actually did the science on how many times Harry and Marv should have died. Or what injuries they would have sustained, and they're pretty cataclysmic.
Yes.
I don't remember the video, but I'm sure if you go on the tube of you can find it if you put in the correct search words.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen it out there. I don't think I've watched it, but I've seen that they did that. All right, so I'm going to go to my first one. Home Alone, everybody, you could watch on Disney Plus, I believe, so go check it out if you haven't seen it or if you just need to rewatch it. I think all of them are up there now. So, but moving on to my first one, I'm going to start with one from 1994. It's called The Ref. It's directed by the late Ted Demme, written by Richard LaGravenese and Mark Marie Weiss, starring Dennis Leary, Judy Davis, Kevin Spacey, Raymond J. Barry. It is a movie. I just rewatched it again yesterday. It starts off with a couple in therapy being really mad at each other with a great cameo by the great B.D. Wong as their therapist. And it countercuts back to Dennis Leary, who's at a house in their neighborhood, and he's robbing them. And he robs the wrong person, gets like a spray of cat pee in the face, and then falls down this chute and ends up getting injured. And then his cohort outside drives away, and so he has to run. And he ends up going to this convenience store, and he finds Judy Davis's character in there by herself, upset because her and her husband are basically on the brink of divorce. Her husband, again, played by Kevin Spacey. And Dennis Leary sees a chance, and he puts a gun to her back and tells her to get into her car, and he kidnaps her and her husband. And he's looking for a way to escape. Well, Dennis Leary's character, Gus, has walked into a terrible situation. Again, he's on the run from the law, but he is kidnapped the wrong people, as Caroline and Lloyd are in the middle of a marriage meltdown, and their family is in disarray. Their son is a criminal. He's at the military school, and he's on his way home too. And just all this stuff is just kind of falling in on Gus as he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. And it leads to in a hilarious movie about Gus kind of befriending these two crazy this crazy couple who's just on the verge of their whole lives ending at this point. And they end up understanding him more than they understand each other at certain points. It's just a really funny movie. It was like Dennis Leary's one of his first starring roles, where he's like the main character. And it was pre Kevin Spacey's first Oscar for Usual Suspects. It was like right before that. So you get Kevin Spacey kind of being his first kind of major movie before he like broke out after the Oscar and was in everything. It's just a very fun, twisted, dark movie. J.K. Simmons is his actual first theatrical role in this movie. He plays the military teacher that the son is blackmailing with photos so he can get money, because the son has to earn his own money because his parents don't give him enough for allowance. But all his jobs that he does is illegal. Like, he started a prostitution ring in high school, which is how he ended up in military school. So yeah, it's just a crazy fun movie. Lots of great performances, especially from Christine Baranski, who plays the sister-in-law, and Richard Bright, who plays Murray, who is the alcoholic sidekick to Dennis Leary's Gus. If you like Dennis Leary, it's Dennis Leary yelling for like an hour and a half. So that's his comedy specials. That's what he does. If you're a fan of that, then I think you'd be a fan of this movie. It'd been a while since I had seen it, and I was glad I was able to watch it before we did this, because it reminded me of how funny it was. And it still holds up. There's a lot of good humor in this movie. I'm not going to repeat a lot of the words they use, because they swear quite often, and there's some pretty creative swears, if you will, in a movie like this, especially with someone like Dennis Leary. I'm a huge Dennis Leary fan, so I loved Rescue Me. Loved a lot of his other movies and TV shows, so this is kind of right up my alley. I used to be a huge Kevin Spacey fan, obviously, until we found out some more recent truths about him. So this was part of my collection because of that from years ago anyway. And it's just a really fun Christmas movie. It's different. I kind of like my Christmas movies dysfunctional. Those are kind of the ones I'm drawn to, which is funny because it's not like I have a dysfunctional family or anything, but those are just the kind of movies I'm more drawn to, because you get a lot more, I think, real emotion out of movies like The Ref and Home Alone and some of the other ones that we have coming up. You kind of get, it's the realism too, and how everything isn't always happy, and yep. That's what these movies, I think, represent. But everything isn't always happy, but it's always family, right? So you're always there for family no matter what, and that's what these movies represent, I think. No matter how messed up it can get around the holidays, family is family. So Yeah, that's The Ref. It's not available to stream, unfortunately. You'd have to either rent it or purchase it. But it is a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. Dennis Leary, again, probably at his best acting-wise in this one.
Yeah. Since we're talking about Dennis Leary a little bit here, I'm going to quote one of my favorite comics, Christopher Titus. In his first stand-up special, says that between 63 and 68% of American families are now listed as dysfunctional. So we're in the majority.
Yes.
So, and, not many people have, the nuclear family with the, the mom, the dad, and the whole picturesque room.
I've always looked at that as a big old lie anyway. And there's never, like I said my family's not dysfunctional. When I say that, they're not dysfunctional in the confines of movies like The Ref. Like, we're not screaming, but no one's normal. I don't think normal exists inside the normal family. And that's what makes us different and fun, and that's why I like these movies, again, is because it just kind of, it speaks to me more than some of the other more, like Miracle on 34th Street and some of those movies. I like these type of movies more so. So anyway, that's my thought behind it.
One relative, that aunt or that uncle or that cousin, brother, sister, mother, father, who's just like... You don't know when it's going to happen, but they're going to ruin Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Flag Day, something. They're going to do it.
This is true. All right, wait. What's your number two?
I'm moving on to my number two, which is the 2017 Bad Moms Christmas.
Nice.
Oh, wow. So this is the sequel or the follow-up to just the Bad Moms from the year before. We are starring, the big three are Mila Kunis, Kristen Bell, and Kathryn Hahn. Directors are John Lucas and Scott Moore, who are also the writers. So, the three moms that I just mentioned have their own mothers drop in unexpectedly on our underappreciated and overburdened moms as they rebel against the Christmas norms and the challenges and expectations of the holiday. So, let me run down who belongs to who and whose mom is who in this, in case you haven't seen this. So, Mila Kunis and her mother, starring Christine Baranski. We have Kristen Bell and her mother, played by Cheryl Hines. And then, I think the best pairing, Kathryn Hahn and Susan Sarandon. All right, so... This place takes place in Chicago, so I'm immediately fond of it. Or it's at least shot there. I am pretty sure.
Well, two Chicago movies for you right off the bat.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm a homer. What can I say? Even though I'm so far away. All right. So you basically got these three families, and they're all in different situations and different relationship situations too. So Mila Kunis is basically the main character. She's in a relationship with her boyfriend, Jake Hernandez. He has a little girl. Mila Kunis' character has two older, or like pre-teen kids. And then you've got Kristen Bell, who is seemingly happily married with 4 kids, and she's just completely overwhelmed by everything. And then you've got Kathryn Hahn, who is a single mother. She is a self-proclaimed roadie / groupie. I believe she followed REO Speedwagon for 15 years. So that's pretty awesome, hey. Her mother, Susan Sarandon, is of the same, cut from the same cloth, if you will. She arrives hitchhiking from an 18-wheeler and, usually drops in when she needs cash. Kristen Bell's mother, played, as I said, is played by Cheryl Hines. Her name is Sandy. She is a widowed Canadian living vicariously in North Dakota, I believe, who desperately just wants to spend time with her family to a smothering, just, whoa, we need some boundaries here. As familiar with the film, there's a very intimate moment interrupted by the mother just hanging out in the corner of the room, watching what's going on. Yes. All right, so, I empathize a lot because now as we're parents, our biggest thing around the holidays is to make sure our kids have a good Christmas.
Sure. Yep.
And, nothing gets ruined for them. I don't know if you ever had a holiday that was spoiled or ruined, not because your parents, but something else happened. But it's a pretty crappy feeling.
Yeah,
and we
it
never,
happens.
So it's just going through the struggles of buying the gifts, wrapping the gifts, preparing meals, decorating, which we had a pretty amazing episode with our Christmas tree yesterday. Just randomly falling out of the stand, just whoop.
Jeez.
Oh, I hear a crash and then I hear a consecutive line of curse words. I'm like, oh boy, what happened? that if you let it get to you, it could ruin your holiday. But, I digress. So basically this movie's about Mila Kunis' struggle against her mother for, they want a low-key, just, hey, let's just coast through the holiday and just enjoy each other. Christian Baranski's character is like, no, we must have the pomp and circumstance and the elegance of all Christmases past. She hires a decorating team to come in and just cover this place in lights and ornaments. And Mila Kunis' character is just not having it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the funny scenes are definitely with Catherine Hahn, though. She definitely steals the movie for me. She is a manicurist, but not really nails. She grooms people's body hair. I don't know what the appropriate title for this person is, but she basically meets Justin Hartley's character, the Green Arrow from the Smallville series, and this is us.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've always liked this guy. He reminds me of my friend Brian, just because of actions and looks in some of the roles that he plays. So I was like, oh, that guy. So while waxing his nether region, they have a love connection. She brings Mila Kunis' character and Kristen Bell's character to the Santa strip-off and watch him perform, where her mother comes in and ruins the whole thing. I'm not going to go on and on about this as I keep rambling here and there, but this is a very funny movie that you probably shouldn't watch around with your younger kids. I don't know if you're familiar with this one, Michael, if you have anything to say about this one, but overall, it's a belly laugher for me.
Yeah, I saw this. I've only seen it one time. I thought it was okay. I think Catherine Hahn is definitely the slapstick of these movies. I will say I like the first movie better. I did enjoy this movie a little bit, and I do think if you're gonna get anyone to be ridiculous mother countering Catherine Hahn, how could you go wrong getting an Oscar winner in Susan Sarandon? I think that's, landing someone of that caliber to be that character, I think is perfect. Christine Baranski also does a great job. I talked about she's in The Ref. Very similar role, actually, in The Ref as in Bad Moms Christmas as well. I do also love Peter Gallagher is the dad, is Mila Kunis' dad. I think he's great. In this movie, he's very low key because the mom is so high strung that he's kind of on the opposite end of it, more like his daughter, where she just wants, he just wants to kind of relax, but he doesn't want to get anyone mad, so he's just kind of stuck in the middle. It was a fun movie. Like I said, I have only seen it one time, so I can't comment on everything. Again, I do like Jay Hernandez. I'm a fan of his. Christina Applegate again reappears in this one as she was in the original. She was kind of the antagonist in the original movie to Mila Kunis's character of the good moms, who really isn't, not that she's a bad mom, but is having a terrible time just like all the other moms are in both, in this one and the holiday one, or in the original. But yeah, no, solid films overall, I think, for both those movies, but I do prefer the first one.
Yeah, just you mentioned Susan Sarandon and Christine Baranski. When they're introduced, they have a hilarious line where Christine Baranski and all of the proper etiquette, like, my name is Ruth, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
Dead-eyed looks at her and goes, my name's ISIS, like the terrorist group. all I really got to say about Bad Moms Christmas. It's a good belly laugher if you're looking for something holiday and something fun, and the kids are
Yeah,
around.
I do, and I did appreciate when the three grandmas like got on their own and they all went out and had a night. I thought that was pretty fun too.
Hit me with your number 3, sir.
Yes.
Or your number 2.
So my second is gonna be, it's a horror film, which no one is probably surprised, but it's called Krampus, and it's from 2015. I think this movie was popular when it was coming out because that was when the myth of Krampus was more coming over to America. It's a German thing where it's an evil Santa Claus, basically, who takes kids and puts them into bags and beats them with reeds. That's like the original like story behind Krampus. So in this one, we get a completely dysfunctional family. The scene, to set the scene, it's very Home Alone or Christmas Vacation like. You've got the in-laws coming in. Everyone is kind of on edge. No one really gets along. You've got here. I'll start with the cast and the director. Directed by Michael Dougherty, who did Trick or Treat in the most recent Godzilla movie, King of Monsters. And he works with, in this one, you get Adam Scott, Toni Collette, who last week I talked about Little Miss Sunshine. She's really great at playing the mom in the dysfunctional family. David Koechner from Anchorman. Allison Tolman plays Toni Collette's sister. The late Conchetta Farrell, who just passed away recently, plays their aunt. MJ Anthony plays one of the kids. It's just, so it starts out with this huge dysfunction. Everyone's kind of yelling at each other when the in-laws come over. Then you have the grandma, who's German, and that's where the Krampus myth is German. And she knows, like, she can feel that there's something going on. And so the family, they basically, like I said, they basically all hate each other. They're all screaming at each other, yelling. Everyone's just kind of miserable. And then the sister Beth goes out to check on her boyfriend because all the lights go out. It gets all dark outside. And she's like, well, I want to just make sure he's okay. Well, while she's gone, there's this creature. And you can't really see it, but it's kind of coming around. It's jumping. And she's gone. And so they start freaking out because they don't know where she is. And what follows is what I would compare to, like, Gremlins meets Christmas Vacation. And it's that type of horror film, like kind of family horror film. It's only PG-13. It's not rated R, so there's not a lot of gore or anything. But these creatures and stuff start to attack the family. And the where the comedy kind of comes into this type of movie is like the stuff they have inside, like the gingerbread man toys, the Jack in the Box, like all that stuff starts to come to life and very much in demon-like form. And so they're basically fighting for their lives inside this house while also trying to figure out what's going on outside the house because they can't find their daughter. The van that they could have used to escape was destroyed by Krampus. And there's this big whole... Finally, the grandma like tells them like this story of Krampus and what happens and what happened when she was a kid, and that it was very similar. And then Krampus just kind of starts picking them off one by one, I guess, in a way. And it's very again kind of unsettling at times because it does deal with like kids getting taken and when there's a baby involved as well. It's a very dark comedic movie, but it has a lot of heart to it. And I think that is what kind of makes it stand out with like Christmas horror films. It's not just like a slasher or something like that. The family, you kind of start to feel for this family as well. Yes, I won't say hate each other, but you know, as we talked about, the families get upset at each other around the holidays. And that's kind of how these people are. They dread getting together, but they have to because it's Christmas. They have to be with family. And that's what they do. So you start to feel as they kind of like they're fighting to save their children. They're fighting to save each other. And it's I don't want to give anything away because it is somewhat new. It's from 2015. It's just a lot of fun. I just rewatched it again. It's scary. It's funny. David Koechner is really great as the very, very Republican uncle. The husband to Allison Tolman's character, who's the sister, like I said, of Toni Collette. Toni Collette is great as the mother. Adam Scott is really good as the father. They're kind of just holding on to, it's one of those things where you you kind of get dropped into in the middle of the family drama, and then you just kind of the movie starts there, and you take it from there. So we kind of meet them at their worst, and then we kind of get to see them evolve into their best at times, which I think is kind of cool for a movie to do that. And I don't know if you're familiar with this one, Wayne. I'm sure you've heard of it. I just don't know. I doubt you've seen it. But I thought it was a lot of fun. It's definitely not as good as something like Gremlins, but it is in that vein of a Christmas movie and that type of scary Christmas film that I think people will probably watch, for the next 20 years, just because it has a lot of those same elements that we look for in our dysfunctional family holiday films. So that's why I chose this one. I thought it was really well done, and Michael Dougherty is definitely someone I think for everybody to look out for, and a very good director. So
I haven't seen it just because it's not my bag, baby. But the whole idea of Krampus is very interesting. So kind of like just looking into that and just the festivals and the detailed costumes that people come up with.
Yep.
In Germany, they have like parades and festivals to celebrate. It's just like, holy cow! Like the prosthetics and like just the amount of work that goes into these costumes and the way that people celebrate.
Yep.
And it's impressive. Like, wow. And also it's like, y'all are kind of messed up.
It's bringing a little bit of horror to the holidays. And I think that as us horror fans, we always try to find the holiday movies that are a little scary. And this definitely fits the bill. And I think what's great about this one is it's not just for adults. It is only PG-13. So pretty much anyone 10 and older could watch it, I think, and enjoy it. And it's, again, it brings a little bit of scariness to the holidays, which is something that I like, and I always thought was fun. So,
all right, I'm moving on to my third pick of the day. I am going with the 2003 film Bad Santa. Bad Santa, it's not really a dysfunctional movie. Technically it is, because if you think about Thurman Merman, he's alone with his grandmother because his father's on a business trip.
Yes.
In reality, his father's incarcerated, and that's what keeps Billy Bob Thornton there, because his little black heart does good in it.
Well, and I would say by the end of it is a dysfunctional family. So I think it's one of those movies that maybe doesn't start as that, but it ends as a dysfunctional family.
Exactly. And in case anybody was like, that's not, why did he pick this for a dysfunctional family? This film in and of itself is dysfunctional. It also has John Ritter, so hey, there you go. But here is the rundown, or here's a little, the tagline, little synopsis, whatever you want to call it. A miserable con man and his partner pose as Santa and his little helper to rob department stores on Christmas Eve, but they run into problems when the con man befriends a troubled kid. This is directed by Terry Swigoff, written by Glenn Ficarra and John Ritter, starring the amazing Billy Bob Thornton, the late Bernie Mac, rest in peace, Lauren Graham, Tony Cox as Marcus, the helper, if you will. Brett Kelly plays the kid, and that's what he's known as. That Thurman Merman is the kid. That's how he's at least listed on IMDb. So, yes. John, as I mentioned, John Ritter is in this movie as well. So basically, what the scheme is, what they run, Billy Bob Thornton and Tony Cox pose as Santa and an elf, and they, take pictures with kids, and they pose for pictures. And the whole time, they're basically just scoping out the mall or the store that they're in, or the stores, I should say. And they're getting ready to hit the place. It's Christmas Eve. And it's just hilarious because Billy Bob Thornton is just a degenerate piece of crap. He's an alcoholic. He's a misogynist. He's a purveyor of perversion, if you will. I think it's the nicest way I could say. Other thing, constantly drinking or drunk when he's dealing with children, throwing up and urinating out himself. Just a terrible human being. But they are successful thieves. They have been successful a number of times. He's also an expert safecracker, somehow. One of the tools he picked up from his degenerate parents, as he is letting us know about that. So they end up in Arizona. Eventually, after calling it quits, the money runs out, and they're like, all right, it's that time of year again. So Marcus and Willie reconnect in Arizona. Basically strong-arm their way into getting hired. There's a real professional Santa who is fired because he doesn't have an elf helper little person. So they get the job, and they immediately start getting into the swing of things. Billy Bob Thornton is his own worst enemy. He comes across the kid, Thurman Merman, who is just lacking in guidance. He's taken care of by his grandmother, who is just not with it mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in clothes that don't fit. He's not well maintained, dirty, just needs some love. His father, like I said, his father is supposedly on a business trip. He's actually incarcerated. Mother is dead. Yeah, kid's just fending for himself. He's picked on by bullies. And this is the first glimpse we get that Billy Bob Thornton's character, Willie, isn't just a complete, just terrible, one-dimensional character. He sees the kid getting bullied, so he decides to beat the crap out of the three teens that are picking on him. And, there's this scene where he's just beating up children, very high quality, stuff you want to show your kids and your older relatives and family. It's a quality piece of cinema right there. A lot of just humor that I can't really talk about because this is a kid-friendly podcast, but he hooks up with a woman who is very, very fond of Santa Claus, we'll say. It's based on it at the beginning. So Bernie Mac's character is the general manager of this mall that they're at. He is the boss of John Ritter, to Willie and Marcus, and John Ritter keeps coming to go, there's something wrong with these guys. But because Bernie Mac knows what these guys are up to and basically strong arms them into giving them half a take, it's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. And Bernie Mac and Tony Cox have some epic one-liners back and forth. Again, can't really talk about it, but it's pretty funny if you want to go in that direction. Also, Ajay Niadu is you best know him from Office Space. Nia Najjar.
Yes.
He has a little just cameo appearance. It's funny. Just want to make sure because I know him because anytime I see him, I'm just like, that guy! What's his name? But I can't remember.
Yeah, Alex Borstein, too, from Family Guy. Octavia Spencer is in this movie.
That's right. Yeah.
Cloris Leachman plays the grandma. Matt Walsh is in it as well. Octavia Spencer, wasn't she the prostitute at the hotel?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's definitely very dirty. I saw it in theaters when it came out in 2003, and we laughed our asses off. It's so funny. Probably one of the best Christmas comedies ever made. Bernie Mac is great. John Ritter is great. Tony Cox is great. And obviously Billy Bob Thornton as Willie is fantastic. There were some scenes where he was drunk on set just to kind of get into character. He wasn't like an alcoholic or anything. It was just more to get into the character, and it helped and it worked. And a lot of times that stuff doesn't work during productions. It hinders it more so because actors aren't able to both drink or smoke and act at the same time. But for this one, it worked for Billy Bob, and he's a different animal, I guess, when it comes to that type of method acting, if you will. And he just, and I can't remember, I don't think he was nominated, but there were talks of him being nominated for Best Actor this year, when this came out, just because that's how good it was, and that's how much, or how well that performance transcended into the important people's conversations, where every once in a while we'll get a comedian or an actor who puts up a comedic performance who gets talked about for best actor or best supporting actor, that kind of stuff. And this was one of those roles. He just was fantastic. It was perfectly written for him, and he nails it. And I do want to give props to Lauren Graham, though, too. I thought she was really funny. More of a wholesome type actress, you would say, coming from the TV show that she's been on. But this, she's got a little bit of a foul mouth in this one, and that's, kind of just funny. It's always funny to me to see actors do roles that are outside of their normal work. And I thought she was really good in this one as well. So, yeah, great movie overall.
There was a follow-up in 2016, 13 years later, Bad Santa 2. It's for the nostalgic in me. I wanted to like it, and I laughed, but it just, it wasn't as good. Christina Hendricks plays the love interest / sidekick, along with Bob Thornton, and Kathy Bates comes back as his mother. I just wanted to mention this one. If you like the first one, you may enjoy the second one. Don't expect the same quality, but the 2016 film, they made a sequel. It's all right.
I still haven't seen it, because I heard it was so bad that I just haven't watched it yet. But I'll have to get it. I've wanted to see it, so I'll have to give it a shot at some point. Maybe this holiday season will be the perfect time to do so.
Again, if you got an hour and a half to spend and you feel like giggling a bit, throw it on. It will make you laugh. It's just, not as good as the first one. And yeah. I love Christine. I think she's amazingly talented. She's obviously gorgeous, and I obviously find her very attractive, but she's also very talented. I loved Mad Men. I loved her character's arc and growth on that. So Christina Hendricks is fantastic and does a really good job in this one.
Well, I will have to check it out, sir. All right, so moving on to my final one. It's from 2005. It's American comedy drama, written and directed by Thomas Bazooka. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it, because it's a pretty badass last name if that's his last name. Stars, Claire Danes, Diane Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Dermot Mulroney, Craig T. Nelson, Sarah Jessica Parker, Luke Wilson, and Brian White. I am talking about the film The Family Stone. And for me, when I think of dysfunctional family Christmas movies, this is kind of the one that pops to the top of my head. Because it really is a movie about a dysfunctional family that takes place during the holidays. So you have Dermot Mulroney and Sarah Jessica Parker are a couple, and Dermot Mulroney is bringing her home for Christmas to meet the rest of his family. She's already met his sister, Amy, played by Rachel McAdams, and she cannot stand her. Amy cannot stand Sarah Jessica Parker's character. And you're not really supposed to stand Sarah Jessica Parker's character. She's just kind of an uptight woman throughout most of this movie, until, as Luke Wilson told her, she needs to let her freak flag fly. So until that moment happens, she's kind of stuck up. But she's she's not a bad person. She's just trying to make the family like her. They instantly don't like her, so everyone's butting heads at the beginning. Dermot Mulroney is really upset with his family because he wants them to, take her into the family and make her feel like she's one of the family. So what happens in these type of movies, things start to unravel, secrets start to come out. You find out that Diane Keaton's character has cancer again. She's a survivor, but the cancer is back now, and so this is kind of like supposed to be the last Christmas with the family. So that's why she's a little more apprehensive of Sarah Jessica Parker's character, because they don't think that she fits. But it is possible that she actually does fit with one of the characters, just not the one that she's with at the moment. So there's a lot of interesting kind of just funny family stuff back and forth. There's a lot of physical humor, especially towards the end of the movie. Rachel McAdams is really good in this movie. So is Sarah Jessica Parker. Luke Wilson is fantastic. Craig T. Nelson and Diane Keaton as the parents are really fun. You have Elizabeth Reeser, who plays the other sister whose husband isn't there until the end of the movie. She's pregnant. Just overall, just a solid cast. A fun movie. I mean, most of these movies I've talked about today, with the exception of The Ref, aren't really like critically acclaimed. But this one I just think has found its way into the Christmas rewatch category for a lot of people. I know I watch it even throughout the year, but just around Christmas for sure I watched it, in preparation for today. It's just a fun, dysfunctional family holiday film. Everybody, like I said, is really good in this. Especially, it was kind of a place for Rachel McAdams to kind of show that she could be the star of a movie, coming off of Wedding Crashers, where she was more of a co-star, and I think it was after The Notebook, so it was kind of separating her from that romance area of film. It puts her into a different category, to show that she could do other things. So with this and Wedding Crasher coming out so close to each other, I think it did that, and it kind of led to where she's at now, which is, someone who goes between drama and comedy. And this is exactly that type of movie. There's a lot of drama, there's a lot of comedy, a lot of emotions floating around, people getting angry at each other. Again, as we talked about, the holidays, it brings that out of a lot of people, right? And this movie, I think, handles it very well. Claire Danes is great as Sarah Jessica Parker's sister. She ends up developing somewhat of a more relationship with Dermot Mulroney's character. Luke Wilson is probably one of my favorite characters in the movie, and probably most people's. He's the stoner brother who just kind of floats through life, and he plays it with that Luke Wilson charm, which everyone has kind of come to know and either love or hate, I guess, depending on who you are. But yeah, I mean, it's just always been a movie ever since I saw it, something that I've kind of related to and just always liked and enjoyed watching, especially around the holiday season. I'm not sure if it's available to stream anywhere. But you definitely could just search it and find it and see if it is. It might be. Definitely a good movie. Wayne, have you seen this movie?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. I'm familiar with it. It reminds me a lot of This Is Where I Leave You. Kind of the same thing. But I have different similarities with different plot lines. But just family coming back together, settling their differences, coming to an understanding. It's got heart. It's got touching, situations like that. So... I obviously just drawing comparisons to that, so I really enjoy those types of movies. So,
yes, same here. Which also it'll lead us into our review of the week, as I think both movies are very similar. And the movie we reviewed this week is Happiest Season, the new movie that went straight to Hulu due to the pandemic, starring Kristen Stewart, Mackenzie Davis, Alison Brie, Aubrey Plaza, Dan Levy, Mary Holland, Victor Garber, and Mary Steenburgen. Directed by Clea Duvall she was in the movie The Faculty, and it was written by her and Mary Holland. And it revolves around Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis's characters. They are a couple living in just like a city, and they are going to... Mackenzie Davis's character is going to go to her family's for Christmas, and they're going to like one last night out before she leaves, doing the whole romantic holiday thing. And Mackenzie Davis, you could tell these characters are in love with each other. And in just a moment of love, ask her to come with. And, Kristen Stewart finally gets in. It's like, all right, fine. Like, she's not into holidays, but she'll go. Well, and it's revealed the next morning, Mackenzie Davis's character is just like, I don't know if this is such a good idea. And so, but then she's like, well, but you wanted me to go. And then Kristen Stewart's character is going to propose. It's Abigail's Kristen Stewart character, and Harper is Mackenzie Davis. So Abby is going to propose to her now on the holidays, and over the holidays, and she really wants to go now. So they're in the car, they're on their way, and that's when Harper pulls over. She kind of freaks out, and she tells Abby that she has not told her family that she is gay. And Kristen Stewart's character, Abby, is unaware of this, obviously, and she's, they kind of start to freak out a little bit. So then they pretend to do what you've seen, some of these movies similar to this. She's the roommate. And that's that's how they're going to introduce her. Abby's the roommate who's an orphan because her parents have died, which is actually, that part is true. Her parents are gone. But she's not an orphan, as they died. You find out later they died when she was like 19. So, it sets up what's going to obviously be a lot of awkward moments. And I love movies with awkward comedy because of how they make you feel when you watch them. If they do it right, they make you feel like you're there. And it's so awkward but funny at the same time. It's this weird feeling that I'm still not used to. but I enjoy it when it happens. Like Paul Rudd does this a lot because he's a very awkward person. So a lot of his role, the one I could relate it to the best would be I Love You, Man. It's a very awkward movie, and that's how I felt during this movie. There's a lot of scenes where you're on the edge of your seat because you're worried and what's going to happen between these characters who you start to really kind of relate to and really like a lot. And it hit me. It again, as we talk about Family Stone, it's a lot like that, and these movies I just tend to gravitate more towards. And I really, when they announced this movie was going to be on Hulu, I was excited because I wanted to review this on the podcast. As we've talked about before, as I've talked about, I'm a big Kristen Stewart fan, minus the Twilight movies. I've been we had the one moment on the podcast where I talked a lot about her on movies and she was in, and this is another one that I'm going to say people need to see this movie. I really enjoyed it. Wayne, I'll let you speak. I know you were trying to chime in here, but it just tells you how much I really enjoyed myself watching this movie, and really actually probably will watch it again before Christmas. But Wayne, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yep. I immediately thought when we talked about the awkward moments of our idiot brother.
Yeah, that Rudd. Too. I almost brought that one up too. Yep.
Yep. The one point I want to talk about, but I want to be vague, is after the big reveal and the conversation between Abby and John. I think that's what really makes this movie different and special, because the plot line, we've all seen this story before. Mm-hmm. But the conversation between John and Abby about handling and reacting to what has happened.
Yes. Agreed.
And again, I believe that's vague enough where you understand that it's an important point, but it's not revealing.
Yes.
I hope.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and I could really say, but that scene right there makes the movie for me.
Yes.
Mary Steenburgen makes me with a fiery power of 1,000 suns, and how her character flips is nice, but not really redeemable in my eyes. And again, I'm leaving my comments vague because I do feel strongly about it, mm-hmm. but I don't ruin this movie for anyone because it's worth your time. Mm-hmm. And y'all should see it. And like you said, you're probably going to watch it again. I'm going to watch it again very soon, just because it's a story that I enjoyed, you know?
Yeah,
it's of the story that we've seen before, but with a twist.
Yes. And I think it's just an important movie, I think, to see right now, kind of where the world's at. And we don't get a lot of movies like this. Like we said, it fits into the same mold as something like The Family Stone, but as we mentioned, it does a lot of things different, and a lot of things are different just in the movie based on the fact that it's about a same-sex couple and Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis. That's not something we see a lot in these movies where they're the main character. In The Family Stone, there is the gay brother and his lover, but they're not the main characters. They're kind of side characters. So
usually a story, or
exactly.
Just like
so this.
Oh, here. Have this.
Yes. So this flips it, and it makes it them the center. And I think it's really important to have that right now. I think Kristen Stewart, who identifies as a gay female actress, it's important for someone like her to be at the forefront of this. She's obviously got a huge following. I saw an interview with her recently where they asked her the question of whether, gay people should play gay people and straight people should play straight people. And she made the comment of, like, it's a hard thing for her to talk about because she has been lucky as a white woman her entire career. She's gotten a lot of work, and as being Kristen Stewart, like she said too, she's like, well, so does that mean I can't play straight characters anymore? Because like now she identifies as a gay woman, and that's something I think isn't a conversation that definitely needs to be had. And I think this movie makes a strong case for it. You could go in either direction because Dan Levy, also an out gay male, plays a gay man in this movie. And he as John, he is really funny, and probably a lot of the comedy of the movie is Dan Levy. If you've seen the TV show Schitt's Creek, which he just won like every Emmy for ever, you understand how talented this guy is, and he's really funny in this movie. And like you said, he has that very candid moment with Abby outside in the snow. which is really good. But it's nice to see also Victor Garber. This is where these questions come up. I'm not going to answer these questions. I'm a straight male, so my opinion on this is not going to be any groundbreaking thing. But Victor Garber is a gay man who plays a straight man in this movie. So you have a lot of those people who identify as gay or straight playing different roles in these movies, or in this movie particularly. And it's interesting to kind of see it all come together. Clea Duvall, I think, does a really good job. I believe this is her second directed movie, and I've seen both of them, and this one is better, but they're both good. She does a great job with this. Mary Holland, who wrote it and also plays this, the other comedic part of the movie, Jane. Jane is the other sister that gets like no respect and she's just one of my favorite moments is at the end when she's this won't give it too much away, but there's a fight going on and then Jane steps up. She's like, well, I'm going to stand here because I'm an ally. And it's just this funny moment in the movie that you kind of just get. And it's really good. Again, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. Emotionally, it was very well done. Go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah. Sorry, man. Not to cut you off. I was just waiting to jump in.
Yeah.
I was really happy just to see Allison Brie. And it really, really made me miss and pine for Glow and how, it's actually unfortunately come to an end because of COVID. And I really wish they could have finished that up. And also Aubrey Plaza played a really nice supporting role in this as well.
She did. It was interesting to see her not funny, which not to say that she's not funny at all, but not her normal funny.
Anna Gasteyer also a very non-comedic straight role for her.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a movie that I think if you like these type of movies, it has everything that you're looking for and more. And it stands out amongst all these dysfunctional family movies and what people go through. And again, how hard it is to be yourself sometimes. And I think, whatever that yourself is, it can be difficult to be yourself. And I think this movie handles it very well. And it just, I don't know. I really dug it. I can't really say much more about it. I guess obviously everyone can tell I'm a fan of it. Mackenzie Davis is great. I love Mackenzie Davis and pretty much anything I've seen her in. For people who aren't familiar with her, she was in the most recent Terminator movie as the main Terminator, good guy Terminator, next to Arnold, obviously. But she does really well here. She looked a little weird with her long brown hair because she's usually got real short blonde hair, so it was a little hard to get used to at first. But they have her and Kristen Stewart had really good chemistry together, I think, which definitely helps in a movie like this is what you're looking for. And so overall, it's definitely must see. I think if you have Hulu, check it out. You won't be disappointed, I don't think, if you like these type of movies. Moving on from our review of Happiest Season, again, go watch it now on Hulu. We're going to do Gone But Not Forgotten. And Wayne, I don't know if you've seen the news today. First, I'll start with the first couple from earlier in this week. We lost Magneto voice actor David Hemblum. Ed Murray, the inspiration for Danny Noonan in Caddyshack. Bill Murray's older brother passed away. Daria Nicolodi, who is the mother of Aja Argento and was in many of Dario Argento's movies. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even 2000s. But we also just lost today David Pross, the original Darth Vader actor, who was the Darth Vader inside the Darth Vader costume, whose voice was originally used on set. And according to him and many other people, they had no idea that James Earl Jones was going to be revoicing it later. I think only Mark Hamill knew, I believe, because they had to tell him in order, because the whole father line too was not told to them either. So that was one of those things that, whatever. Anyway, regardless, he was the man in the costume. He made his kind of living was going to these cons that he was allowed to go to, because there were a lot that he wasn't allowed to because he was not associated with Disney or Star Wars.
And George Lucas were not friendly.
Yes, they were not friendly. There was a falling out. A lot of it, I think, had to do with the fact that his voice was replaced. But yeah, he passed away today. So I know, Wayne, you're being a big Star Wars fan. I figured I didn't know if you knew that or not, but
at the time of this recording, I was not aware. So
he will forever be remembered as that, I think, and that's while he did not much anything else, I think that's pretty cool to be remembered as Darth Vader, even in life and death.
He did train Christopher Reeve to getting him in shape for his Superman role. So I know that's one little bit of nugget or tidbit that
wasn't he a bodybuilder or something, Pros?
He was, yes.
Okay. Must have been part of that Sean Connery circuit back in the day. Being a bodybuilder, then becoming a celebrity. All right, so our main topic of Gone But Not Forgotten, we already mentioned him, and that was in Bad Santa, and his name is John Ritter. And John Ritter passed away in 2003, so right around the time of Bad Santa. That was his last big theatrical movie that he was in. And John Ritter, to me, I mean, as a child growing up, I had watched a lot of the reruns of Three's Company, so that's where I kind of, I kind of knew him. I knew him from there, even though I didn't grow up on that show. You know, when it came out, I was still a fan of the show. But then he was in movies like Problem Child 2, Stay Tuned. Stay Tuned is one of my favorite movies of his. It has to do with a couple who's in a rocky relationship, and he's always watching TV, watching sports, and not paying attention to his wife or their love life or anything, and his kids kind of just do whatever they want. He's kind of become lazy and lets the TV kind of run his life. Like, that's the whole point of the movie. And then they're given this special TV by Jeffrey Jones's character, who's kind of like the devil, I guess. And he puts this big satellite dish in their backyard, and then it transports them into the world of television. But it's not like a real world of television. It's like an alternate universe. Because there's even a Three's Company show that he ends up on that's not his Three's Company. It's different actors, but it's basically like the same idea. There's a game show then. It's a real fun movie, especially if you were a fan of watching TV and TV shows in the 80s and 90s. It touches a lot on that. John Ritter is great in this movie. It's always been one of my favorites of his. It's just a really fun comedy. It was on Amazon Prime recently. I did watch it again recently. A lot of fun. Problem Child's an interesting movie because, and I don't know if you're familiar with this one, Wayne, but I watched Problem Child. Problem Child is one of the few 0% movies on Rotten Tomatoes that I like. Like, I was surprised to look, like, I know it wasn't well received when it came out, but to be nobody reviewed it that liked it. And I remember loving Problem Child and Problem Child 2 as a child. Now, granted, I haven't seen them since, so I can't say if they hold up or not. But I always had a fond memory of those two movies, and those and Stay Tuned are probably my fondest memories from when I was a kid of him, as well as in the miniseries to Stephen King's It, where he plays Ben, which he was one of the most memorable parts of that movie. Him and Harry Anderson are like the only good actors in that movie, so like it was weird to watch it because they stand out among other people. But Wayne, is there any memories?
Played the clown.
Well, okay. Outside of Pennywise, obviously he's Tim Curry is the standout, but John Ritter and Harry Anderson as Ben and Richie are the adult humans standout in that movie. And I've always liked John Ritter in that movie. Wayne, is there a specific memory of John Ritter? I know we've talked about him on the show a little bit before when we talked like Bride of Chucky. Anything that you can think of that you were a big fan of his?
I loved 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, and it was going to be one of those shows that was going to have longevity. Unfortunately, I believe
it was
way after the first. I believe
it was the first season. It was his. They were going into season 2, and he passed away.
Yeah, obviously that particular sitcom had a great supporting cast. Kaylee Cuoco played one of his daughters from obviously Penny on the Big Bang Theory. Katie Seagal was his wife, and I love her. I mean, I loved her as Peg Bundy. I loved her on Futurama, but her role on Sons of Anarchy just made me fall in love with her. And
Yes.
now she is on the Connors.
I heard, yeah.
And again, I love her in that. And I just, Eight Simple Rules had like so much promise and so much hope. And after losing their lead, man, when John Ritter was the heart of that show, really was, and just the compatibility that he had with the children playing the actors playing his children, and just the chemistry he had with Katie Seagal, it was really good, and I was really I was very fond of that show. I looking at John Ritter's IMDb page here, I didn't remember he was in Sling Blade.
In Sling Blade, I was going to bring that up, because Sling Blade, he's great in that movie. He plays the gay best friend to the kid's mom, who Natalie Cannerday, I believe is her name. And he's great in that movie, and he has a good relationship with Billy Bob's character. Again, that was written, directed, and starring Billy Bob Thornton. John Ritter, I thought, was really good in that movie. I've seen it a few times since, I saw it the first time back in the late 90s. It's still really good. One of his probably best performances, I would say. And he just, he was one of those actors who he didn't get a lot of chances to show how talented he was. And I think he was really talented, as you could see, like in Bride of Chucky and on 8 Simple Rules. He did Tadpole, which is another indie dramedy type movie. Very good in that one as well. And then Bad Santa, as we talked about, like, he's kind of the straight man in that, because he's very put off by all the foul language and the nastiness coming from Willie's character. He plays that role really well too, which is, if you think about it, like Three's Company, he was not that. He was the hound dog on Three's Company, the ladies' man. And so to play something like Bad Santa, where he's kind of the opposite, I thought that was good as well, and showed his range. And he just was I think, an underappreciated actor who could have done a lot more, and probably could still be working today, had he, unfortunately not passed away. I believe he had like a heart arrhythmia or something that was undetected in him. So it was kind of terror disorder. It was a shock to most people when he did pass away suddenly. His son Jason Ritter is an actor, and he still works today. I like him a lot as well, just like his father. I think he does some good work. One movie I will talk about that I watched, I did talk about it on my social medias and stuff. It's called Mercenary. Is John Ritter plays a rich guy whose fiance or wife, actually wife, because it's at the wedding, his wife gets murdered, and then he hires these mercenaries to teach him how to be a mercenary so he can go exact revenge. And so it's basically John Ritter looking like a mercenary for like an hour and 40 minutes. It's so strange. It was just a cheese ball of a movie, but it was interesting. It was fun. It was stupid, but it was fun. Just a weird movie that kind of, I think with actors like him, there's those movies that was straight to video that we didn't maybe pay attention to because it was just some straight to video movie. And it's interesting to kind of go back and look at those and be like, oh, wow, like that was something he did. But yeah, so I mean, I think I wanted to talk about John Ritter because I figured one of us would at least talk about Bad Santa at some point in the next couple weeks. I wasn't sure if it was going to be today, so I kind of just lucked out that way. But yeah, he just was an actor that like I said before, I don't think he gets enough credit for as good as he was, and for what he brought to a lot of the roles that he was in. And it was, when he passed away, I was kind of like, it was like, damn. It was one of those damn moments where it's like, I did not expect to wake up this morning and see that John Ritter passed away. I know it was like, I was in college at the time, so I was at my apartment in college when I found out, and it sucked because I was a fan. So, yeah, so that's, John Ritter, we hope you're resting in peace, and you've given us a lot of work to kind of go back to and rewatch. Again, I recommend watching Stay Tuned or Bad Santa or Sling Blade if you want something a little more dramatic, or 8 Simple Rules or Three's Company. Like he was obviously TV was bread and butter, so he was really good at TV. And I didn't watch all of 8 Simple Rules, but I did catch some of it when he did it, and he was funny. It was a good show. It was going to be a really good show, and it went down in flames almost. No offense to David Spade, but it kind of went down in flames, I think, after his death.
Well, Well, they had to try and change the whole dynamic of the show, and
yeah,
it just wasn't meant to be. But I know he did a lot of guest stars too. Like he was on Felicity. He did some stuff. He did some episodes on Scrubs.
Law and Order. Yep.
Really funny, talented dude.
Yes, he was. He was very talented, and like I said, I think it just got lost in a lot of the stuff that he did and how talented he was, because he was always Mr. Reliable. And that's how I look at him, as in Stephen King's It. He was very reliable in that movie. They cast him and they knew what they were getting, and they knew they were going to get somebody that could help carry the second half of that movie, and that's what he did. And without him and Harry Anderson, I don't think that, and unfortunately Harry Anderson also passed away recently, I don't think that movie would have, been able to kind of hold itself together till the end. All right. So moving on to Awfully Good or Just Plain Awful. This week, this is a movie maybe we should have started with. This is like the king of bad movies, and I've never seen it until this week. And I wasn't sure what to expect. Was it going to just be like a movie that was fun and cheesy and just missed all the right marks? But no. It is literally, first off, we're talking about Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. And he directed lots of terrible movies. This is one considered to be one of his more enjoyable ones, even though it's considered to be awful.
It's very much like The Room.
Yes.
Where it's so bad that you just want to keep watching it. For me...
It is. It is that, and it's. There are times though where it is hard to get through, because it's not just like I said, it's not because of special effects or anything. Like Ed Wood, whatever. I'm sorry, I never knew the man. If this was his best attempt at a screenplay, the man should not have been writing screenplays, because every line of dialogue was exposition. It was like, well, so there's a doctor over there, and we don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to do this because we're going to tell. And it's like they just explain everything to you in dialogue, so they don't have to show you anything. It's so weird in how they do it.
I have to draw conclusions to an Andy Kaufman-esque character who it's so satirical and so done on purpose that you don't actually know if it's to be taken seriously or art.
It's true. Like, it's true.
I mean, the UFO that we see in the second scene, dangling on the string, the pilots with the cardboard
cockpit
string things. It's like, what the frick is this?
Dude, it was... From what I understand, is they were like out of money to pay any money for it, and they just had to like cut together scenes to make a movie, and that's all he did. And so he struggled to finish it, and it is what it is, and we got what we got because he didn't have enough money to do what he wanted to do. But again, it's still like, to me, it still comes to the script. Like, no matter what he wanted to do, the script is terrible, and it's just really, really bad, but it does make for some enjoyable performances. And I do think it's funny that he got someone like Bela Lugosi to play I'm going to put this in quotes, people, a zombie, but he plays him just like he's playing Dracula. He walks around with a cape for some reason. He's a guy who had just died. He walks around with a cape and puts it over his face like he's Dracula the majority of the movie that he's in. So why, like, and then Vampira, who was an actress who was like your kind of Svengoolie, like your very early days Svengoolie. She did a TV show back in the day. She plays the dead wife, and she looks just like a vampire. So you have these people that are supposed to be zombies, but they look like vampires. I was very confused on what was going on. I think my favorite part, though, was when, because it's funny when you can point out movies that use the titular line in their movie, which is the title of the movie in the movie. So it's something like I saw a movie called Prozac Nation with Christina Ricci, and it literally ends with, sometimes we're all just living in a Prozac nation. That's the end of the flipping movie. I was so angry. This one, I love it. So, what have you decided to do? Oh, well, we're going to use Plan 9, sir. I was like, oh my God, no, they didn't. And then they're like, well, what's Plan 9? Well, isn't that the zombie one? And you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, what is going on in this movie? It's so weird and so out there. But like you said, like, you end up kind of loving it when it's over because it's just so strange on how they made this thing.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about it is you could see the passion through the lens for this movie that he had, which is similar to what we've talked about with The Room before, just in kind of in jest. Like, that's with The Room, like, the idea about that is that it was a guy who wanted to make a movie, and he made a movie. And that's similar to this, is like, Ed Wood, he wasn't good at making movies, but he wanted to make a movie, so he made a movie. And that's what we get. We get a movie. Whether it's a good movie or not is up to the viewer, but it's a movie.
His sparked his own biopic in Ed Wood back in, the early 90s. Was that Johnny Depp?
Yep, Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood in the Tim Burton movie, which is about the making of this movie. It stars Bill Murray, and Martin Landau plays Lugosi. Sarah Jessica Parker's in it. It's got a great ensemble cast, but it shows the love that this man had for making movies. But like I said, he just wasn't good at it, and that's, you can admire someone having a dream and being able to accomplish that dream. And Ed Wood, unlike Tommy Wiseau, Ed Wood made lots of movies, none of them good, but he made lots of movies, and so he, in a way, you could say he accomplished his goal in his dream. And he had a movie made about him. I mean, and he was dead by then, but still, he had a movie made about him. How many people have that in their legacy when they weren't even good at the thing that they have the legacy for? Like, so it's fun to see. It was fun to see this movie for the first time just because I had heard about it for years. Now, unfortunately, I don't know about you, Wayne, but the only version I could find on Amazon was the colorized version.
Yes.
Yeah, so we unfortunately didn't get to see it in the black and white like it was originally intended, but the color version was interesting to see just some of the things that they did. The woman, or the husband and wife, God, the scene where they're talking about when he's like, oh yeah, honey, last night I saw a flying saucer. She's like, really? Not like really like sarcastic, like, really? And he's like, yeah, I wasn't sure what it was, but it was a flying saucer. It's this thing that came from outer space. Again, giving way too much information on where the plot's supposed to be going. And he's like, but I wondered if they're good or bad. I don't know. And it's just like, oh my God, like, again, it was like either he couldn't rely on his actors or he didn't know how to write for people. It was more like he didn't know how to write the story. It was more just he only knew how to tell the story through dialogue. So that's all you get is all the dialogue is basically just advancing the plot, which it's bad enough when some of the dialogue is just advancing the plot. When all of it is, like, it's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, you could show some things. It was so out there that everyone should see it because of how out there it was.
Get some friends, grab some drink, get a pizza or some wings, and have a party with them.
Yes.
When it's so acceptable and safe to do so.
Yes, exactly. So I think this will probably be my first solid stamp of awfully good, because this one is awfully good. It's so bad that you just can't help but have a good time with it. And the performances they're not great, but you could tell that the actors thought they were doing a good job. Like, no one was doing anything bad on purpose. It was them actually trying, but either whether they were good actors and they just had a horrible script, or they were bad actors and they were just trying to do their best. It's hard to tell. I mean, Bela Lugosi has literally no lines in this movie, so it's not like you could even say his acting was good or bad. He basically just walks around as Dracula zombie for most of his time. And then when they turn in the bones too, when they die, that's hilarious. I don't it's just like, there's no like dust or anything. It's just they pull the cape back and there's bones, and you're just like, oh. And then when the big guy we're spoiling this movie because it's whatever. It's like 70 years old. So when the big guy Wayne turns the bones at the end, and then my favorite, they're just like, well, I bet the other ones turned to bones now too because they left now. It's like, oh, okay. I didn't need you to tell me that. I probably could have assumed that's what happened, but
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
That's what I mean when I say, like, they told you everything in dialogue. That's exactly what they do. Even stuff that is just an assumption, they tell you in dialogue. It's so bizarre. Such a bizarre movie. I'm kind of interested to go and watch more of his movies because I want to see, like, what the rest of them are like.
This definitely made me want to go and revisit Ed Wood, for sure.
I did, and actually, I ordered Ed Wood on Blu-ray. I do not own it, so I did order it. It's $10 right now on Amazon. So I was like, yep, picking it up because I want to watch it. Because it's been a while since I remember liking it a lot back in the 90s when I saw it, but I haven't seen it probably in like 20 years. So I'm looking forward to watching it. But yeah, so it's on Amazon Prime. Plan 9 from Outer Space, the colorized version. If you guys want to watch it, check it out. Again, awfully good from us. Just a weird, bizarre movie. I think that everybody should see.
Yeah, man.
Moving on, we're going to talk about what we've watched this week. I actually got to watch some more movies since I've not been watching many TV shows this week. So this week I was able to watch...
Tell me about
Uncle Frank? Okay. So Uncle Frank is a movie on Amazon Prime starring Paul Bettany and Sophia Lillis, Peter McDisey, Judy Greer, Steve Zahn, Lois Smith, Margot Martindale, and Stephen Root. And it is about a gay man played by Paul Bettany named Frank. In 1973, him and his niece are living in New York. She goes to the college that he teaches at. And she, at this point, doesn't even know that he's gay. She eventually finds out before they end up having to go back to his family's town because his dad passed away. And him and his dad have a very rocky relationship, which more is revealed later. He hasn't told his family. Again, it's 1973. It's even in 2020, people sometimes have a hard time talking about who they are and coming out and stuff like that because not everybody is on board. And it's a shame that they're not. They should be by now. But 1973, I think we could all imagine it was a different time. Maybe it was more accepted in places like New York where they were very liberal, a lot of hippies around and stuff like that, a big party scene. But he had to go back to the South, and the South they were not very open about that kind of stuff. So he was worried. He didn't want to tell them. His lover, played by Peter McDisey, ends up tagging along, unbeknownst to him and his niece, because he rents a car and follows them, which ends up serving a purpose because the other car they're in that breaks down or whatever. So there's a fun back and forth between those two. But you could really see the raw pain and emotion that Bettany's character goes through as he's trying to kind of come to terms with who he is. Even at 46 years old, he knows he's gay, but he's still not settled on some of the things from his past that have happened. I don't want to reveal anything because it's a brand new movie. It is on Amazon Prime. You can watch it right now. It's very emotional. It is hard to watch at times, a bit gut-wrenching. It's another human story, similar to, it's not funny like Happiest season, but I would actually compare it to something like that because it has to deal obviously with the similarities of kind of keeping yourself in the closet and then coming out at the moment that you want to come out at. And this movie is very similar to that, but it's a drama. And there are some fun moments to it, but overall it's very dramatic. And you kind of just go on this ride with these characters and you get to see what it's like to live in their skin. And again, like I said, it's very gut-wrenching at times. Steve Zahn gives a nice performance, a kind of a subdued performance as the brother, Michael. And he is very very quiet in this movie, but he's good. And Judy Greer, always very good. She plays Michael's wife. And then Margot Martindale plays the mother. She's great. If you've seen a movie in the last 15 years, you've seen her in it because she's in a lot of movies. She's great. He doesn't get a lot of screen time, but Stephen Root is really good as the father. He's not funny in this movie, so I want people to be aware of that. He is not likable really in this movie either. So people that are used to Stephen Root from Office Space or some of his other comedic work, that's not this movie. But it's a really good movie. I recommend people watching it. I think it's important. Again, like Happiest Season, it's important for people to see this movie and to see it now with the world we live in. And I think a lot of people will enjoy it. It's directed and written by Alan Ball, writer of American Beauty, creator of 6 Feet Under, creator of True Blood, the TV show. Lots of good work in there from him. It's a good movie. I really recommend it. Possessor, directed by Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg. So if you've seen movies like The Fly or Scanners, his dad's pretty messed up. So it's not surprising that his son is also pretty messed up. This movie is strange. It's weird. It's bizarre. I loved it. My wife, not a fan. Literally, she looked at me when she was like, I gotta say, didn't like this one. I'm like, all right. Understood. Not for everybody. It's very strange. It's sci-fi horror, body horror, lots of like mutated stuff and weird things going on, and just really cool though. It stars Christopher Abbott and Andrea Riseborough, and also Jennifer Jason Leigh. And so Andrea Riseborough's character plays basically like what you would call, I guess, a corporate assassin. And what they do is they load their consciousness into another person's, and then with that person, they kill the target. So the first one is when you're looking at me like, what the hell? There's this girl, Holly. She's uploaded into her consciousness, goes to a party, stabs some guy in the neck to death. And then the girl like points the gun to the police kill her, and that's how, and then she leaves that person's body and goes back to her own body. So it's like using another person's body as a vessel to commit a murder. That
defies my logic, sir, because if you are killed in the dead vehicle, you are dead as well.
Well, that's not how it works in this.
You just don't get to change the rules of science fiction.
Sean Bean is also in this movie.
Does he?
Yes, he is. There is there's a scene with him, that's for sure. I'll tell you that right now. It's pretty messed up. It's a crazy movie. It's not for everybody, but if you're into crazy sci-fi horror, I definitely recommend it. You could rent or buy it now. I think it's on sale for the holidays. Another one I watched was Hillbilly Elegy. That one is it was decent. It's not my favorite of the group that I watched this week, but it's decent. And I think really good performances from Amy Adams and Glenn Close. I've seen a lot of overacting comments from critics and stuff. I didn't get that feeling. I didn't think that they were overacting. It is definitely a movie that feels like, hey, we want Oscars, or we're gonna. So maybe that's where they're coming from with it. But I still think they give really good performances, and I wouldn't be upset if they won their Oscars for this, because those are two actresses who have famously not won, and both have deserved it by now. They've done better movies, so that's always my holdback is yeah, you could give them an Oscar, but they should have won it for this, or you should wait and give it to them for something better. But it's a decent movie. Ron Howard directs it. His movies for me are always hit or miss. So it's kind of, this one was a little bit in the middle. But it was good. It's a good Netflix movie, I think. A lot of people I know have watched it. It's definitely number 2, I think, this week on their top 10. But yeah, definitely interesting movie to watch. I watched another one called Bit, which is a vampire movie that's kind of similar to something it follows like a Lost Boys almost, but it's mainly about women, about girls, and it's this one girl who has this vampire clan, and her rule is no boys, because they get power hungry, and they try to rule everybody, and they ruin it. And so it's basically just supposed to be girls, and they only turn girls. I think it's one of those movies, because it's funny, it has a 90% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 4 out of 10 on IMDb. So I think it's been review bombed by people who don't like woke female stories, which is definitely what it is. But it's told in a way through vampires, and I liked it. It is a fun movie. I wouldn't say it's an important movie that people need to see by necessarily, because there isn't really much of like a climax to it, but it is a fun vampire movie. It's gory and bloody right from the beginning. A girl rips this dude's heart out. So, I mean, it goes for it, you know? I definitely recommend checking it out. It's another one you could only rent or buy it. Right now it's on sale on Vudu for $5. It was a new one this year that I've kind of been waiting for, because it's really cool looking. The story, the poster that they have, that if you follow me on social media, I put the poster up. It's really a cool ass poster. The last thing I watched was Unhinged with Russell Crowe, which was the first movie that was released in theaters after the beginning of the pandemic. It was fun. It's a thriller, kind of like falling down. Russell Crowe plays a guy who loses it, and then this woman honks at him during on the road, and she doesn't apologize, and he road rages, and it goes to the extreme. But they and this isn't spoiling anything. In the opening scene, they show him murder a couple, so it's like it's setting up the fact like this guy's already lost it. So when she meets him, it just takes that little bit of anger to send him overboard. It's a fun movie. It's a fun thriller. So if you like road thrillers, like Breakdown or something like that we talked about last week, similar to that, similar to Falling Down. And yeah, so that's what I've watched this week. I've tried to get back on watching quite a few movies after watching Yellowstone the last 2 weeks or so. So yeah, no, it was a good week for films for me, Wayne. Anything for you?
I'm still making my way through Dawson's Creek and Sons of Anarchy. I'm keeping up with The Mandalorian every week. If you're following and you're a Star Wars fan, some pretty big stuff happened in this episode. So yeah, if you haven't caught up, catch up.
I need to. Yeah, I'm behind. I'm still behind till last season. Don't tell anybody. It's not like we have a podcast or anything that people are going to hear me talk about it.
Just because. It's all good, man.
I'll get to it at some point, though.
Watch it whenever we feel like it, whenever we get around to it.
Exactly. All right, so there are really no movie release dates that I was updated with this week through just following on the internet and stuff, but I do have some news. Boss Level from Joe Carnahan, starring Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, Naomi Watts, and Michelle Yeoh, has been bought by Hulu and will hit the streaming platform now in 2021. Finding Forrester is to become a TV show for NBC. The O-Gun is a movie starring Anthony Mackie, described as John Wick meets Dante's Inferno, and it'll be heading to Netflix sometime in the near future. Mads Mikkelsen is replacing Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts 3 as the main villain. Godzilla vs. Kong is now being talked about as going the way of Wonder Woman 1984, which we talked about last week, which is HBO Max and theaters at the same day. And the big thing about this one, I'll say, is this isn't coming out till May. So the fact that they're already having conversations about what they're going to do with a movie coming out in May makes me think that they think the pandemic is going to close theaters for quite a little bit longer than we maybe were hoping for. I know Netflix tried to buy Godzilla vs. Kong, but HBO Max stepped in and was like, whoa. We get first chance because it's a Warner Brothers movie. Like, we get first chance to buy this if we're going to buy it.
Nice.
And one thing I wanted to correct from last week, as I talked about the actress that played in Run, she actually is a disabled actress that uses a wheelchair, and I did not know that. So I wanted to correct that. So that's very interesting to find out that she did a lot of that physical work on her own of crawling on the floor while also being wheelchair bound in real life. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit that I did not do enough research for from last week, and I apologize. So I apologize to Kira Allen, who is the actress that played in Run. But yeah, so I thought it was kind of a cool tidbit that I wish I would have known last week. But yeah, so that's our show for this week. Wayne, you got you want to say anything to the fans or anything before we go here?
Hi, Mom. Thanks for listening. Just thank everybody listening. And, we are in the midst of the holiday season, so I hope everyone has a safe and happy one. And until next week, I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you listening and following us. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. At Twitter is at now_Wayne. You can email us at nowshowingwithmikeandwayne@gmail.com. personal information, you could follow me on Twitter at wearescrewed2. I put that up when Trump got elected president, so I don't know if I'll probably change it here soon. Also at Instagram at Mike1830. And on Facebook at Michael Kirkpatrick. Look for the one with the wedding picture, because that is me. Or actually, no, I take that back. It's the Now Showing with Mike and Wayne logo is my Facebook picture. So that's there. Wayne, you could follow him at Wayne Yerke on Twitter, at Wayne_Yerke on Instagram, and at Facebook. On Facebook, it's at Wayne Yerke. For Wayne Yerke, I am Mike Kirkpatrick. Thank you for listening to Now Showing with Mike and Wayne, and we will talk to you next week.